So strength and conditioning, I would say I use about 90% of strength and conditioning as my foundation for athletic training. Like when it comes to rehabs, tissue load, management, exercises, exercise selection, all the different components of strength and conditioning, that has become my foundation for how I rehab my guys. Um, it's been a I mean, like I don't know like what a great word for like it. I mean, it's been so crucial to my development, my growth, how I treat, how I get these guys to move in a certain pattern, functional pattern, movement pattern type. Like it's all based on strength and conditioning and movement theories versus more like athletic training, which is probably I'd say like a little more conservative, right? They're like, when you're going through athletic training school, they're still teaching you know, the price method, protect, rice, or protect, rest, ice, compression, elevation. And I really don't use those a lot at all anymore. I always say that like my education I got in school, my professional education was, the day I started with the Cavs. I walked in there and that's really when I realized, all right, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. And I had to live with like in the training room, in the weight room, asking, the strength coach and athletic trainers, like, what are you doing here? What are you doing there? Guys like Mike Mancias, who is LeBron's athletic trainer. He was great. He was, always answering my questions, had me help him. It was huge for my development. And then how hard was it to wear those two hats? I mean, you really learn how to combine the two. You what you realize is you start spending less time doing rehabs and less time doing like true treatments because you learn how to treat everything in the weight room. If you're getting these guys, instead of going like, hey, we got to rest this injury, it's instead like, hey, let's get activated, let's get moving, let's open up the joint spaces by this exercise selection, whatever it might be. So initially it was hard because it was a big hurdle to learn, but once I had it, I mean, now, like I said, that's the crutch of my a lot of my philosophies and how I do things now. So invaluable experience. Help. I mean, can't explain how much it helped me.